Welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go.
Hello, and welcome to our latest podcast of the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin, where we get to share about our personal experiences and help you be that fly on the wall to see and be curious about what there is for intimacy, play, exploration, and getting into deeper, juicier pieces of ourselves. Today, we are going to talk about, I am here to share, Jess, the Playful Domme, about the Passionatrix Ignited weekend that I just finished a couple of days ago with my co-hostess, co-mistress, Rina Trevi, who is the dominatrix who trained me over 3 years ago, and what it's been like to reunite. We haven't seen each other actually since that training in Miami in 2019, and she came to my home, and we hosted this event where there were 7 women who came from all the different backgrounds, religious backgrounds, sexual identities, all kinds of different things. And it was such a glorious, incredible, profound weekend. And the ladies said they'd like to hear some more about it. So this is what I will share. So it has been a desire of mine for a long time to host events for women where they can become curious. They can come curious to play in the dominance space, playing in their own sensuality, and also being able to play together as women, because there's a big difference in how women show up and ease in and connect when it's just women in the space versus even one man coming in and out, and what the dynamic of the energy that shifts in there. So Rina, she was a dom for over 10 years, and then she stepped more into the Shibari space, which is the Japanese art form of bondage. And it has some darker origins, which is how a lot of these things are. The Shibari means, what is it? I think in Shibari, the word Shibari in Japanese means shame. And so Shibari was originally used as a torture for high profile officials that had done something wrong. And so the Shibari, the tying, was used not for physical torture, but for the exposure, the vulnerability, the emotional, and the shame that would be on full display. And over the decades, it's shifted into something more where it's entered into the kink space, it's entered into BDSM, and it has taken a different connotation. There, of course, there can still be some different perceptions of it, but how Rina comes with it is in deep vulnerability and helping people be in a space where they can't run away from themselves anymore. And they're tied into these different places and ways around their body, and she creates a whole journey and storyline about what it is that they're going through. She is quite shamanic, so watching and hearing as the women are tied and bound in certain ways and getting into these deeper repressed pieces that they haven't been able to access, that they've been running away from, allowing those things to be felt and to come up, hugely cathartic, very transformational. the most of the women are suspended in the air, so they're hung in the different ways, and Rina is very, very careful with how to distribute.
So Jess, did this happen at your event this last weekend?
Yep, it happened.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah,
okay.
we did a performance. Rina did a performance with one of the participants who's been to Rina's events before, and so they had this very beautiful, like, theatrical story that was drawn out. It was beautiful, and then the women learned some basics of Shibari, not to the point that Rina can do things, but to empower them to explore and experience in with partners the ropes and the different simple ties that could be done, and what is it like to surrender to somebody else and to feel safe and to trust and be guided and held and supported through all of it. And it was super, super beautiful for the women to have that experience. And then Rina did personal private journeys before and after the event, so that if the women
exciting
deeper, they could.
Wow.
Yeah. And the results already, the impact of the women, one of them, she came home, she had done private sessions with both me and Rina, and she went home to her husband, and that the next morning she planned something very special for him, and he's a very masculine. At the end of it, he broke down and cried and said that this was all he's ever dreamed of, to experience with her, and he's never seen her like this before, and just the huge transformation that she's had, and she's in a very devout religious sect. So for her to have like stepped out, and she was like, I'm a fuck yes, I'm coming here, I'm signing up, I'm doing all the things, and she just took this leap. And that's what's, I think, some of the most beautiful things about this experience is are the women that said yes and went in just with such big hearts and trust. And we did other practices too, really helping women deepen into their vulnerability, into their emotions, to feel them. And then also a lot of play with kinky things and floggers and blindfolds and lingerie and then cat suits and all those things. And then there was a beautiful goddess transfiguration ritual we did, which comes from the Tantra lineage, and it's about the men coming to gaze upon the women as though they are the goddess, and then for the women to come and sit and eye gaze with the men and transfigure them into gods. So all of this happened in about 26 hours. It wasn't very much time. It was from Friday night till Sunday afternoon, really. And to see the bonding of the women, how quickly they all connected, was so gorgeous. There was a big slumber party Saturday night, and so for me, as to host, to have my space finally, and a temple for women to come in and play and explore these new pieces of themselves, and for them to feel transformed, and just to be able to hold them through the whole process was such a dream come true. And it was very moving and emotional, just how vulnerable women can be to express and share themselves when they feel safe. And there was a lot of healing, a tremendous amount of healing. And I think one of the common things that the women shared was that they got things they didn't even know they needed. Like they didn't even know that. Like one of them was like, I came here really for the Shibari, but what I got was so much more, and I didn't even know it was what I needed at the time. And that's something too that it's just so beautiful. So I believe that it's a launch point, it's a landmark event for each of them, and their connections in the way they were able to open up and share, which was so juicy and exciting. So we did that. And then I've got another event coming up with Rina again next weekend as a sacred womb workshop, healing workshop for women. So we're doing some events, and that's super, super exciting.
So Jess, what do you think the highlight was, as far as, because again, we always want to know, like, as far as the playful side of things, what was the highlight? What was the part that the women were most excited about? Was it the floggers? Was it the Shibari? Was it the What was it?
I think that the thing that was most fun was Saturday night we had a play party. And so the play party, it was optional. I kind of considered it after the event, like, okay, the event ends, now we get to play. And so they had like all the tools that they had been practicing all day, and then they got to utilize that and engage and connect with each other. And so to look around the space and see, and my partner Josh came over, and he arrived because we had a couple of men come to be part of the goddess Transfiguration Ritual, but the timing wasn't quite right yet. And so when he arrived, we were all still in our cat suits, and we were still in like our flogging and like all that kind of sexy high like voltage charge. And he's never done anything kinky. Like, I mean,
Josh hasn't?
No, I finally got to tie him to the bed, I think a couple weeks ago, and he tied me to the bed. Finally, Mia Dom that's been spending like months, like trying to warm him up. So he's coming into this space, right? And this is really one of his first times to see me in what I do, and then other women there, and they're all like just so special and beautiful. And so like he walks in, and he's also got his body back in shape, which is great. And so then I was like, Rina was like, would you like to play with us? And so Rina, and I was like, babe, it'll be super light, it'll be okay. And he's like, okay. And so so he like let us be like our play bunny a little bit. And so Rina, put a blindfold on him and started tying him up, and the women are all watching, and like I'm playing a little bit, and a couple other women came and like ran a pinwheel over his body. Like we pulled his snap button shirt open and off, and of course he's got a fucking awesome torso, so he's like getting tied up, and for me to watch him like kind of like letting go and like trusting Rina and following her voice and falling into the trance and seeing his body, and it was just like so exciting. And it was exciting for the women because they know that like he's been so supportive of me, but he hasn't been like in it. And so
that's really great
in it, and they're watching, and then like every now and then I go over and kiss him, and like and like he's blindfolded, and it's like, oh, he can recognize me, and oh, okay. And so we did some little wax play, like dripping some candle wax on him, and the pinwheel, and some spanking, and and he was just like such a good sport about it. And the women
enjoy it. I mean, post event without everybody else around, did it open up his mind in terms of the work that you do, and recognizing how transformative that work is?
In a way, he's like, your kisses were my favorite part, for him. The kisses were the best. I would love to do a demonstration, but something, obviously much sexier and sensual, because I can, with him, and have people observe and watch that. I think that'd be pretty cool down the road. But there was something that was super interesting. So afterwards in the play thing, and the goddess Transfiguration was actually really moving for him. And that was the thing he was most afraid of. And so this is something too, is that the pieces and the components of the event that someone might have felt like the most hesitation or nervousness about, I wouldn't say apprehension, just like nervousness, like, and it was something that was so beautiful for them and amazing, and like the highlight for them. And that's why I love like helping create a safe space for people to lean into these places, rather than like, like it's safe to explore this, and it's okay. And if you don't like it, then you don't obviously have to do it, but like creating that space for them was super beautiful. So afterwards, so the play party, like I have a den area that was just kind of like this open play space, and I have my living room and then my dining room. And so then like I have a strap-on sensual fisting client who's super, super sweet. I'll call him I guess I could call him Larry. He's just like a sweet man. And he came and everybody loved him. And he was so like, they just adored him. They wanted to take him home. They wanted to like hold him. Like, he's just so sweet. And like Josh loved him. And like that, he's like, I love Larry. I'm like, yeah, he's my fisting client. He's like, that's your fisting client, Larry? Like, this sweet man, like, you know, it was so, he's like, I love Larry. Everybody loved him, and it was beautiful. So anyways, in the den area, 3 women decided that they wanted to tie one of the women up. And so she was like, and she wanted it. It's not like, everything's with consent. Everything's with consent. So for, it had to have been over an hour. She's like tied up. They're like massaging her, sucking on her toes. One girl was rubbing her tatas in her face as she's blindfolded. Another, like, they're like feeling her body and giving her a, you know, nice massage, and, you know, and playing drums and all the things. Like, so it was just like this whole play thing was happening that they were doing, and it was super sweet. And then Larry was getting a little tied up a little bit. Other people were talking about tantra, and so then Josh and I, there was a really lovely woman that I'm very touched and connected with, and she came up with a collar and a leash, and it's the thing that she's most afraid of, because she's quite she had been through a lot in her life, and so to be in a submissive space like that is really hard. But she's always wanted to surrender, and she felt so safe when she did the eye gazing with Josh. Like, she felt so safe with him. And so she approached us and on her knees, and like, you know, said that she wanted to try it on. And so we were talking and everything, and both so sweet to her. And so we put the collar around her, and I put the leash in Josh's hands, and he's like, you know, what do I do with this? And he tugged it just a little bit, and she immediately surrendered and like leaned in with her throat like fully exposed, like opening herself up, and his eyes went pop, like, what just happened? And he was like, oh, I like this, and I'm confused, and I don't know what just happened. And I was like, so what's going on in your head, babe? And he's like, I like that. And I was like, yeah, what do you like about it? He's like, I like the control. And he had like this little smile, and then the girl and I burst out laughing, and he was like, what? He's like, what? We knew it. It's like, for men to be able to feel safe to like step into their dark masculine, which has been one of my greatest desires with him for months. And like he got like a little taste of that. So it was super fun. So I think what the highlights for the women were the opportunities for each of them to shine, and for them to like to be able to feel safe to play. I mean, a lot of them were facing some big like self-doubts. You know, a few of them had some feeling super inadequate. Like, I'm walking into a space with such strong women. I don't belong here. I don't fit in, which is all of their stories, right? But and then I think the maybe one of the highlights was at the very end, the last day, where we did an integration. And I asked each woman to share their insights and any ahas, if they had any unmet needs that we could somehow meet, you know, so they have some closure. And each of them, like, just what they shared ended up being super healing for everyone else in the group too.
Oh, really?
So one of the women had this huge cathartic rage release of things she hadn't been able to express for over a year of what she'd been going through. And so to be in that space, just be held in that, and like, no one's trying to save her, no one's trying to comfort her, no one's trying to rescue her, no one's trying to fix her. We're just like watching and beholding. And then like, and how healing that was for her, but then also for another woman who had been attacked years and years ago, and like seeing how this woman like released, she felt like she had permission to finally be angry about the thing that happened to her. So that was super healing for her. So like all these different things that come up, and how we create a safe space for it. And then something that's really beautiful, and I highly recommend to any of our listeners, if they're able to, is I asked if we could do a love note. And so for each woman, after she spoke, we passed the phone around and recorded a message of our reflections of of encouragement, of love, you know, and
Oh,
that
that's
was
a beautiful thing.
yeah. And, you know, a keepsake, you know, souvenir to, you know, for them to listen into when they're in those moments, and just to see how each woman has a very unique medicine. And it was so beautiful to like be in a space where everyone is celebrated. There wasn't like jealousy. I think for me as hosting this space is like, I'm here to host, but I'm certainly by no means like the ultimate authority. You know, every single person has something important to share, and for them to be able to express that. So it was a fantastic weekend. I can't wait for more. They want more, they want longer, they want more time, they want all the things. And like, you know, that was you know, what a beautiful thing to hear and experience. So to see, I think for me, they were surprised because the women came from such different walks of life. And so
really?
Yeah, like, so to have one to watch the kind of, they're like, you know, we're such opposite people, we would be the last people to expect to connect, yep, they had such deep bonds and everything they came through. And I think that's another telling sign that these weren't all the same kind of woman. There wasn't that like, oh, all the women are this. No, there was like a couple women who had kids, no one else did. A couple who were married, no one else was, you know. So it's like there was enough diversity, but also enough of like a connection piece that at least it was like someone that they could kind of relate to. And then like people who were completely opposite, and they would just like were magnetized to each other.
Wow.
So
what a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, a lot happened. And so now I'm like in this like processing, but it brought me so much joy that every time I walked into the house or came up from downstairs or came down from upstairs and I entered the space, and there's just like women everywhere, and they're talking and they're cuddling and they're holding each other and they're like expressing, and you know, oh, just all of it. It was super profound, and it was profound for Rina and for us both. And I think this is something for all the listeners, if it will help you, is that, you know, we can step onto these seemingly very scary paths. Scary because it's unknown, scary because it seems dark, because it's the unknown. And I know Lisa can attest too that even when she started off on her path, she had no idea she was going to wind up where she is 2 years later.
Absolutely true.
And how much joy there is, and how much play there is, and how much excitement there is. But we have to be willing to go into those dark places and be willing to face those things, I believe. And it takes such courage. But what's there on the other side is so transformative. So that was the Passionatrix Ignited weekend, and I plan on doing many more.
I can't wait to go.
Freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic. Whoosh. Are you thinking about doing one for couples?
Yeah.
Oh, great question, Lisa.
100%. I would love to do one with couples, and I'd love Josh to be there with me doing it. So good. Yeah, we actually did a kind of a play experience with the woman who felt connected to us separately after the event. And we both tandem gave her a yoni massage. So he was doing the external part of the yoni massage, and then I did the internal part as he was like, you know, just kind of holding her. And she was experiencing this, and she was like, I wish every woman had this experience. And the next day she shared with me how the time she spent with us together, and we weren't physically intimate, but she said that what she felt in the connection and in the sweetness and the purity and the innocence of it, it was better than her wedding night.
Really?
Wow.
Better than her wedding night. And I think, and back to the sweetness and innocence and purity, that was what was my event. My event was sweet. The event was innocent. It was pure. And
that's great.
There wasn't big, scary outside. It was sweet, and the whole space is sweet. So I think beyond anything, that was the energetic of the frequency that I brought and laid down really strongly, was this is sweet and it's innocent and it's playful and it's okay. And
so as Jess, as you continue to build, because I'm sure that your client, the gals that came this first time, they'll want to maybe do a level up or two. I'm not sure. I think everybody's a little bit different. Will you go back to doing another, I'm going to use the word innocent event, in case there's listeners that want to come in at kind of the ground floor?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
And like even in my deepest work that I do shamanically, like, I mean, and that's powerful. And that's actually the thing that there wasn't in the event. Like, I didn't make myself center stage really at all in the event. I was much more like holding the space. So so the private sessions that women had with me, they really got to experience it, which was beautiful, because 2 of the women had sessions with me, a yoni massage or a sensual body massage session, and then more of like a sexy Domme session before the event started. And they both said that helped them so much in opening up for the weekend, and that they were able to go in so much deeper and fuller by having that experience with me first. And so that was a very important thing for me. So I think that like part of my magic is it's so one-on-one with people, that like, because each person needs something different in a different way, in a different moment, and how to show up in that and be that resource for them. I mean, it's just totally transformative. And the one that I had the sexy Domme session with, she's like, I felt like I lost my virginity for the first time again, in a way that I wish I had lost my virginity.
The first time.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are big, beautiful, powerful things. So yes, I would love to do session events with couples, 100%. I think it's so important.
What we'll do is we'll always make sure that our website is updated with the next upcoming event, because no matter when it is that this podcast actually posts, we'll have, even though you mentioned that you're having an event next week or in 2 weeks with Rina, we'll always keep the website updated. So anybody who's interested in participating in one of these retreats will always have the next available retreat or choices of retreats available to them. Yeah. I wanted to make sure we mentioned that before we ended today.
Yeah.
We'll make sure those links are there.
Yeah,
there's fantastic.
Thank you.
I can't wait to go. I can't wait. I wanted to see, I was curious to see how the first one went, because of course I'm much more vanilla. So I'm a little apprehensive. So again, I feel completely comfortable now. Plus I know you, Jess, and I know Lisa. So
yeah. There's women who've there was a woman who blasted off. She is a Jewish Orthodox woman who like none of this stuff is talked about, seen anywhere, but she felt like there was something deeper in her whole life that she hasn't felt safe to explore. And like, this was the opportunity, and she just went all in.
How amazing is that?
Awesome.
Super fucking amazing. But there's women who flew in from Oregon and Maryland and Massachusetts and Missouri, and like, they flew in from all around this country for this. Like, it's incredible. It's very moving. It's very humbling. And it's also showing how much women are ready.
They're
ready.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting a lot of I think women are just ready in general. Like, the world is ready for women to take their power out into the world again, right? It's like the Amazon women were, a strong female-led tribe, basically. And we have that opportunity to find our voices and have them be heard again. And I had a great conversation with Sapio this morning, and part of that great conversation was the fact that I was feeling muted and I needed to speak my truth with him. And he's just so wonderful. He was a man ready to listen. So there may be room for both. Like this woman's husband, I'm assuming that when you mentioned this woman's husband was like, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm assuming it may have been the Jewish Orthodox, because you mentioned that she was really religious. And I'm thinking, yeah, here's a man who would seemingly be not open to any of this, and it cracked him wide open too. So I think not only are the women are ready to speak their truth, but I think we have more men ready to listen.
Yes, they can see it and sense it, and they're ready for it to come out. So yeah,
and they're excited for it.
Yeah, they're excited and so supportive. Like she wants to do all the things. She wants to come to all of my events. She wants to come to all my trainings. She's like, I'm with you for the rest of your life. Like you're I'm in,
right? I'm in.
Yeah. You're the medicine of my soul. I can't live without you. Like I'm here all the way. And I'm like, great.
Oh, what the best compliment ever.
Yeah. Yeah. We're here for it, right? And I'm with women all the way. Both of you know that. All the way. We're in this together. So anyways, thank you all so much for listening to this latest episode. We look forward to connecting with you again. Go out and play, see what lights you up and what you're curious about. You have no idea what's on the other side. Sending you all so much love. Bye for now.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.